The Book of the Damned, by Charles Hoyfort, Chapter 5c. In 1829, Tim's Yearbook 1848, page 235, in Persia, fell a substance that the people said they had never seen before. As to what it was, they had not a notion, but they saw that the sheep ate it. They ground it into flour and made bread, said to have been passable enough, though insipid. That was a chance that science did not neglect. Manna was placed upon a reasonable basis, or was assimilated and reconciled with the system that had ousted the older, and less nearly real, system. It was said that, likely enough, manna had fallen in the ancient times, because it was still falling, but that there was no tutelary influence behind it, that it was a lichen from the steppes of Asia Minor, up from one place in a whirlwind and down in another place. In the American Almanac, 1833, page 71, it is said that this substance, unknown to the inhabitants of the region, was immediately recognized by scientists who examined it, and that the chemical analysis also identified it as a lichen. This was back in the days when chemical analysis was a god. Since then his devotees have been shocked and disillusioned. Just how chemical analysis could so botanize, I don't know, but it was chemical analysis who spoke, and spoke dogmatically. It seems to me that the ignorance of inhabitants, contrasting with the local knowledge of foreign scientists, is overdone. If there's anything good to eat, within any distance conveniently covered by a whirlwind, inhabitants know it. I have data of other falls, in Persia and Asiatic Turkey, of edible substances. They are all dogmatically said to be manna, and manna is dogmatically said to be a species of lichens from the steppes of Asia Minor. The position I take is that this explanation was evolved in ignorance of the fall of vegetable substances, or edible substances, in other parts of the world. That it is the familiar attempt to explain the general in terms of the local, that if we shall have data of falls of vegetable substance in, say, Canada or India, they were not of lichens from the steppes of Asia Minor, that, though all falls in Asiatic Turkey and Persia are sweepingly and conveniently called showers of manna, they have not been even all of the same substance. In one instance the particles are said to have been seeds, though, in Comptes Rendus, the substance in 1841 and 1846 is said to have been gelatinous. In the Bulletin des Sciences Naturelles de Neuchâtel, it is said to have been of something in lumps the size of a filbert, that had been ground into flour, that of this flour had been made bread, very attractive looking, but flavorless. The great difficulty is to explain segregation in these showers. But deep-sea fishes and occasional falls down to them, of edible substances, bags of grain, barrels of sugar, things that had not been whirled up from one part of the ocean bottom in storms or submarine disturbances, and dropped somewhere else. I suppose one thinks, but grain in bags never has fallen. Object of Amherst, it's covering like milk cloth. Or barrels of corn lost from a vessel would not sink, but a host of them clashing together, after a wreck, they burst open, the corn sinks, or does when saturated, the barrel staves float longer. If there be not an overhead traffic in commodities similar to our own commodities carried over this earth's oceans, I'm not the deep-sea fish I think I am.